Hey everyone, Tootie back, and as the title suggests, this is an update to my hack mod jailbreak, whatever terminology you want to use for it, of the Nintendo Mini Classic or the NES Mini, or again, myriad of different names it's called. But yeah, quite a lot of people seem quite interested as to what games I'm gonna or have put on to this little device, and at the minute none other than the one that was in the sort of example, which again, check out my previous video for that. Gives you a very it's not it's not an idiot's guide, but I think it's a lot more in depth than some that are out there, because obviously I'll talk over it rather than just doing screen grabs. But yeah, so what I'm going to do, I am here, hello. I'm just going to go through and maybe explain what the type of games I'm putting on this and why. So some people that may or may not be subscribed or tuned into the channel, I've got quite a large collection of video games across multiple systems, multiple formats, etc. And I've got a decent size NES/Famicom collection. So there's a lot of games that on here currently that I've already got. There's very little need. So what I'm going to really utilise this for is those sort of out of reach games. Maybe some of the US expensive titles, some of the Japanese ones. But what I am going to try with this is just to do some, because I own a Retron 5 as well. So obviously there's the avenue there for of patching games, etc. What I'm going to try to do with this device is obviously, because again some of these, even some of the Famicom games are very expensive, is patch some of the more exclusive, more elusive sort of Famicom titles, and just see if these will run run the patch files, i.e. the English versions run them in English with the patch file. So that's what we're going to do. So I've done nothing else to this other than put little Samson on there. So I have got some of the like I say, some of the more desirable US or worldwide games that I'm going to stick on there, because the chances are I'm probably never going to own them. So yeah, let's crack on, and hopefully, I say, this might be useful for some people out there, especially if you've got one of these. So what I'm going to probably do here, instead of just showing you the file that's been patched, maybe just give you a very, very basic view on just how I would patch the file and where I obtain the patches from, the English patches. So let's crack on, guys. Okay, so the site that I use and I frequent a fair bit is romhacking.net. So there's no qualms about showing you this. It's not illegal. There's nothing untoward about it. Again, it covers multiple systems. You can probably see just down the side here. I will be pointing around the screen quite a bit in this video. But yeah, you've got different subsections. RomHacks, as the name suggests, there's homebrews. There's all absolute minefield of wonderful utilities and tips and tricks and all kinds of stuff in here. Excuse me. But what we're looking for basically is the translations. It's a translation section. So within here, again, it's fairly self-explanatory. You choose your platform. So we want Nintendo Entertainment System, and if you do go, it will just list you all in alphanumerical order. What I tend to do is, if I don't keep up to date with the latest news, if I just sort them by date, so it gives you obviously the earliest one. If you do it again, you sort it by the newest one. So the newest one out there is called, funnily enough, is Sweet Home. So that one is again quite a sought after, the precursor to Resident Evil for the NES. So there's a patch there. So what it's basically saying to you is there's a patch there for Sweet Home that shows you the genre, which is role playing, gives you the date. So usually the newer ones tend to be more complete, although it will stay the status like so addendums. Obviously they've added stuff to it, but basically means it's fully playable. Some are fully playable, some are, the early ones are not, depending on what game it is. But I say, have a familiarise yourself with the site. But yeah, I mean, if you were to go into Sweet Home here, it gives you a breakdown of it all. Yeah, I'm probably preaching to the converted here. A lot of you probably know this anyway. You scroll down the download. What if you click on the download? What it will do So at the minute, 'cause I've downloaded some patches already, it will just take you to another download page where you have to input a string, character string. You can copy and paste it into the box. It just basically so they don't have bots farming their files. So it's just a bit of a manual process just to stop bots farming. But it's fairly, like I say, it pops up with a box up around here that sort of says, where am I am human, please input this code. And you just copy and paste the code into the box, and then it will allow you to download. So because I've been downloading, it knows I'm human, so it doesn't prompt me again. Yeah, and obviously what it does then, it will allow you to save the zip file. So we talked about zip files before. Got a bit of a tech update for you guys. So in terms of the zip files, it drops them down here, so you can see here. Look, there's Sweet Home, which I downloaded earlier. It is a WinRAR/zip file. So again, like I mentioned before, WinRAR, WinZip, all free utilities. You can Google them and download them. But essentially, when you double-click Sweet Home, it gives you this file, which is an IPS file. So I mentioned this before. Yeah, so it gives you an IPS file, and then you extract that file to where an area that of your choosing. Right, so what I've done, again, you can see here the same sort of desktop NES Mini hack. I've kept everything together, and all I did is create a directory called patches. So within patches, I've extracted a number of files, and you can see there Sweet Home, which is the IPS file, and you can see where it says floating IPS file. I'll come to floating IPS in a minute, but these are the list of these are some of the IPS files. They're very small, only tiny, a couple of K files, but these are what you apply to the ROM file. So obviously I'm not going to tell you where ROM files are or how to obtain them, as per the previous video. I'm sure you're all capable of using Google and finding them out. But as you can probably see, there's a number of directories there. So these are all ROM files. These are all games. Excuse me. So the example we're probably going to use is, it's not going to be Sweet Home. I'm going to do, let me try and find it, is Holy Diver. So Holy Diver is a very sought after Famicom game. From what I can record, it's very Castlevania-esque. So here we go. Look, you can see Castlevania, Holy Diver. These are the ROM files. They're not very big either. Quarter of a meg, very tiny. And again, these are all the variations and different revisions. The J it denotes it's Japanese. There is no US or European version of Holy Diver. So what I'm doing, I'm going to patch Holy Diver with an English IPS file, English patch file that I've got from romhacking.net. So if we go back a directory, so within here there is a folder called floating. Okay, so floating is, as I mentioned before, it's called floating IPS. So the application is called Flips. So floating IPS can be obtained from romhacking.net. You go up to utilities, and then within here you can set your category. So we want patching rather. If you just do go, this will give you them across all the platforms, right? But essentially, IPS patching file is pretty generic. It'll patch it to. It's not specific to Mega Drive or anything like that. But if you scroll down here, you'll see under F is floating IPS, and it gives you a little bit of a breakdown. So it used to be called Lunar IPS. Very well regarded patching file. Dead simple. Not a lot to it. It's not complicated at all. And then, like I say, you can just click it there, floating IPS, and again you can do the same thing. File download now. That's literally all it is, and we'll show you that. So that's where you can get, say, floating IPS. No problem showing you that, guys. That it's not. There's nothing dodgy there. It's just a utility. So again, you extract the zip file to a folder, and I call it floating, and we double click Flips, and this gives us this little application window. So all we're doing, I mean, you can create patches, you can do all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff. We're not really interested in that. All we want to do is apply patch. So it says select patches to use, right? So it gives you another window where you can browse to where your patches are. Again, like I say, for me, I would probably just advise you to, if you've got a couple of games, stick them in its own folder, and I've called mine patches, as I showed you earlier. So we're looking for this one, Holy Diver. Okay, you click it, and we do open. The next window, it says select the file to patch. So because it still thinks we're in that directory, we're not. We want to go back a folder, NES Mini Hack. So this gives me all of my games, all the ROM files, all in separate folders. So the one we want is Holy Diver. Now, I think the best one to get is probably just using the default ones, because I'm guessing these are different revisions. So I'm just going to stick with the sort of bottom line one, if you like. And then you do open. Now it's asking us to save the patched file. So within here, I'm going to call it Holy Diver, and then if we stick something on the end of that, which is say like patched. So I'm trying to do this with hardly any hands. We'll take the J off, right? So that's all we do. So just changing the name so it looks it looks different to me when I look at that directory. And we click save. The patch was applied successfully. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna work, but it's been applied. So if let's just minimize flips. If we go back up a directory, and then we look for the Holy Diver folder. So within that now, we've got my file there, which is Holy Diver patched NES, and as you can see, not much difference, but you've got your timestamp, which is 440, and we're at 440. So that's the file. So what we're going to do is back to the NES Mini Classic. We're going to try and upload that file onto NES Mini Classic and see if it plays in English. All right. Okay. Again, I do apologise for the shaky cam a little bit, because I'm doing this sort of one-handed, left-handed and right-handed with the mouse, so it's pretty tricky. So yeah, so what we're going to look forward to do now is obviously connect this up to the PC using obviously hacking, what's it called? Hatchy 2. All right. So we go Hatchy 2, and we want to run Hatchy. So again, if you've watched my previous video, this screen will look quite familiar to you. Some people that may not have watched it will probably be wondering why there's two little Samsons. The second one is the European version. I use that as an example. The top one is the US, which is currently, does reside and does work off my NES Mini Classic, or Nintendo Classic Mini, whatever word you want to use for it. But what we're going to do is add in Holy Diver. So we should see Holy Diver appear here. Now that Holy Diver should be the patched English version. So if we do add more games, so this is giving us, so it remembers the last folder we were in, which was obviously Little Samson, but we want to go back a directory, so we click here, and then we want to look for Holy Diver, and there's Holy Diver. Now the file we want is the one that we just recently patched, which is Holy Diver patched. So we click that, and we click open. Oh, there you go. So this is the new. So again, like I said before, I've not done any of this before, so this is quite interesting. Sorry, Holy Diver patched NES uses mapper 78, but this mapper not supported by NES Mini game probably will not start. Do you want to add the game anyway? Should we say yes anyway? Let's add it anyway. We'll try it. I'm guessing it's one player. We'll leave it as Nintendo. And let's see if we can find some box art. And there we have. We do have. It's still, yeah. Obviously, it's picking it up from the name. So all you do to add the box art, guys, if you just double click it, it just drops it in there. So we've got Holy Diver there. We'll try this. It may not work. So it's food for thought, but at least we'll know. So what you do now, within Hatchy 2, we want to synchronize the selected games with NES Mini. Click that. So now we're going to do the connection again. So make sure the power button on the NES Mini is switched off, which it is. Reconnect NES Mini via USB. So we'll drop down here. Again, this is quite tricky with one hand. And we've connected it. Spin it round. Hold reset button and turn on the power button. So I had some problems with this before with the driver. So again, we hold down the reset, we press the power button, and then release it. and it's doing it. So it's doing it the first time now. So I had some issues with the driver in the last vid, again, check that out, but that seems to have resolved itself. So now it's doing basically the tail end of the last part of it. So it's uploading, as you can see, it says uploading games. You can all read. So at least we'll know, you know, I say it may not, okay, all done, wait until the power goes out. And it's gone out. So that's a good sign. Will Holy Diver patched in English run with mapper, was it mapper number 78? We shall see. So let's okay that. And what I'm going to do is obviously connect the HDMI up to this and just see where we're at.